In a moment, you'll be watching the recording of one of our collective coaching sessions where people hop on to coach each other. And because we're in a shift of time zones and everyone had a lot of things to do, there's two people who showed up, Rita and Anjali. And Rita didn't really feel like coaching or being coached, so I stepped up and decided to coach Anjali this time. And Anjali had never ever coached before until last week, where she had her very first coaching session ever in the collective coaching group, and it went amazing. She absolutely loved it. And you're going to see her come on here, and I'm going to coach her. And it's funny because at first there's nothing really that she wants to be coached on. And we're going to be analyzing this whole coaching session at the end of the session. I'm coaching Anjali for about 20, 25 to 30 minutes. And after that, Rita is going to step in, give her feedback, ask her questions. And basically, it's just a space for all three of us to learn more about coaching. Enjoy. Well, tell me, how can I serve you today?
Oh my God.
Pressure's on.
No, I'm feeling so happy that I don't feel like
Oh,
I have a problem. Is that a problem already?
we can make it one if you want. No, I don't know. Is it?
I mean, I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Can I talk to you about what I think is going well?
I'd love to hear that.
Okay, so I'm just reading this book called NLP. It's called
Hmm.
something. I don't know the name of it, but it's by Richard Bandler. I think his work was recommended in Awaken Academy. So I'm just was reading it before I got here, and it's just really funny because it's really effective and it's really a helpful tool, you know. But I'm just feeling really happy because in the book they use examples of people having these beautiful transformations just from a 2-minute visualization, you know.
Mm.
And I don't know, I think I just feel really inspired right now.
That's cool. What's
Yeah.
that? What's that part inside you that feels touched by that?
Just I think seeing a problem and then like projecting it onto a screen and then whiting it out and using your good feelings to kind of wrap your body around that, you know, and just
Mm.
being I don't have to see this the same way over and over again. You know what I mean? I think that's a really wonderful breakthrough for people, you know?
I agree. I
Yeah.
love that. So there's so many tools, right? And especially as coaches, there's a thousand ways in which we can go. Personally, I'm not really an NLP favorite, but to me, I never understood it. I was like,
Oh.
I mean, I understood the basics, but I never felt called towards it. And a part of me was, I kind of have to go that direction because all good coaches go that direction. But I
What
love for you, you feel really inspired to dive more into that. That's cool.
thing? What do you mean? What direction?
The NLP side of things,
Okay.
I think it's very, it's just too neuro for me, I guess.
Yeah, it's really abstract. I actually will mention I I learn the best from reading. So even though in a way a lot of the coursework is you listen, and I think I learned pretty well listening too. But when we went through that part of it, I think I was still really confused about it, you know?
Mm.
So reading for me, I think reading the book has supplemented, it's yeah, added more to what I was understanding. And then now I feel like maybe the break for me, the big thing is I feel like I understand it, you know?
Mm.
That makes me really happy.
Yeah, I love that. I recognize that.
Yeah.
Reminds me of when you're like in high school doing math and you don't understand anything, and then after that one lesson and it clicks, and then you get it, and then suddenly it's fun.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think sometimes we think that healing has to be so hard and arduous and take a million years and
Mm.
getting anywhere or whatever, but it's it I like the simplicity. It doesn't have to be that. It could be fun and energizing as well. You know, it could be both, but it could be fun and energizing too.
If you were to look at your life as it is right now, are there any other areas where you could utilize that little simplicity a little bit more, maybe?
Yes, actually that's a good question. I actually now I do have a problem. Not a problem, but it's a problem in my head. So
Yes,
yes. Okay, cool. But thank you for letting me get out the good stuff
of
because
course.
I just was bubbling with joy.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I guess my parents. So I think I told you this before. I quit my job towards the end of 2022. It's been like a year and a half. And yeah, I feel like in the hero's journey, they've been the like step six, the I don't know what they call it, like the enemy or something. Like they've been kind of really worried basically about, my path and
Your
um
parents, you mean?
parents,
Yeah.
yeah. And like I feel like it in some ways I keep trying to tell myself the story like it's getting better. And I do think it is getting better, as I become more grounded in my own, you know, just wholeness and stability of like doing something completely different, you know what I mean? Um,
Can
but yeah,
you go a little bit more because you said it's getting better? What do you mean with it's?
oh, the relationship with them. So
Okay.
like,
Okay.
yeah,
Right.
it's I think maybe what's been somewhat challenging is like, um, I'm trying to like think about how to say this. Um, it's like I think I'm more of a free spirit. So like when I call somebody, like I'm not like I'm gonna call you every week, like
Mhm.
I'll just
Mhm.
kind of flow in and out of it. I'm very
Right.
vate, but I think for them, they're like, we need to hear from you more and
Mm.
and stuff like that. It's just like I think I feel pressure sometimes because they worry so much that like if I'm not like 100%, like if I'm not like how I am right now, like really happy and in a
Mhm.
good mood and energized, like sometimes I really just am so tired that like I won't try to call or pick up. I might text them back or something, but like I think it's just, yeah, a difference in like communication styles and stuff like that like um maybe puts us at a disconnect, you know what I mean?
Mm. Yeah, I can relate to that.
Really? Tell me more.
Well, I mean, I first want to know a little bit more about it before I fully relate to it.
Mm,
But I can get a sense of where it might go to.
yeah.
Because like, how long has this been going on for? This sort of, if I may call it miscommunication, would that
Yeah,
be
probably since like over a year, so maybe like 13, 14 months ish.
okay?
Yeah.
And around the moment where you quit your job as well.
Around the moment where I told them I quit my job. I'd already quit
Ah,
for a
okay.
few months before I told them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What made you wait?
I think I needed I needed to feel secure about telling them first, and
Hmm.
I think if I had said anything beforehand, I would have talked myself out of doing it. I knew I needed to do this without a lot of op- oppositional feedback,
Mm.
so like
Yeah.
I think also afterwards was kind of like I was healing, like I was really burned out, and so it was a timing thing too for me. It was like I also I know I do this, which is maybe a habit, but it's like I sometimes feel like I have to manage it, like to have a boundary sometimes with like their reaction. So I think that was the time where I was like, I think I can handle if they have a reaction, which they did.
Mm.
You know?
What was their reaction?
Just fear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Questions, fear. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That was sort of the direction I thought you were going to go into. My mom is exactly like that.
Really?
Ever since I think since I was 15, I was like, I have to make my own decisions first, make
Hmm.
sure every fear that she might have, I already conquered, and only then I'm going to tell her.
Yes.
And what was interesting is that worked for quite a bit because
Mhm.
I mean, I would usually around booking flights or plane tickets or also my decision to go study something else. What made it more complicated was that my dad was the opposite way. I could talk to him about everything, but my parents are divorced.
Mm,
So the moment that I would be struggling with a decision, I would talk to my dad. And
mhm.
after the decision was made, I would tell my mom.
Yeah.
And what I didn't realize what I was doing was that unconsciously I was putting her in a position where she felt so left out. She felt like she was like, he just does everything with his dad, figures it all out. And
Mhm.
only weeks after he tells me about it.
Yeah.
Or he doesn't, and I find out through his sister or things like that. So I definitely relate with you with that because it's like when you have that plan, you just want to go do it. You don't want to hear other people's fears. You don't want to because you know that yourself. You're not stupid, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, for sure. I really get that too because like I feel like my brother is like one of my best friends, so we have a really solid relationship. So he was kind of in the know that whole time, like even before I was leaving, he knew I was thinking about leaving, so he
Mm.
just kind of had been like a stabilizing force for me. So I feel like they also had that feeling of like being left out. Like you
Right.
told everybody else, like we're the last people.
Yeah.
I literally told everyone else except them, at the end. So
Yeah. I
yeah.
I can relate to you. It makes perfect sense.
I'm
You
just glad.
said in the beginning. Sorry, go ahead.
I said I'm just glad I'm not the only one.
Right. No, you're
Yeah.
not. You're not. So you said in the beginning, or sort of in the beginning, that it was a problem.
Yeah.
Um, is this current situation something you'd like to be different?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I feel
Oh.
like what I would really want, like this is what I want, and I want to say it out loud because I
Mhm.
want to make sure I'm not sounding like I want to sound insane about this, but like I would love to be in relationship with them in like a sort of like a self-sovereign way of like if I'm not there or like if I can't be present with you, like it's just because I'm taking care of myself,
Mm.
But like when I'm feeling in alignment and really like raring to call, you know what I mean? Like I would love for that to be like the level of trust, I guess,
Right.
but like it's when you're, maybe they just don't feel uh I don't know. I don't want to project on what they're feeling, but I would love for that to be like our relationship. Like we call when we really, really, really want to talk. And otherwise, like I guess in contrast, it's like if I even am tired and I'm like, hey, I'm really tired. Can I like call you later? They're just like start spinning, like, why are you so
Right.
tired? And it's like, oh my God, like, I would love for there to
Mm.
be, just more, just a solid ground, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I'm getting it right, you're sort of feeling very observed by them. Like it's like they're so on top of your situation that it's like,
It's like, yeah, it's like that plus like whatever I do, to me, it feels like whatever I do is like incorrect, like if I
mm,
call and I'm tired, it's wrong. If I don't call
right.
tired, it's wrong, If I call I'm in a really good mood, it's almost like I feel like I have to amplify that good mood for them to feel safe.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's just like a lot of managing,
Right.
you
So
know?
let's lean into their side for a
Sure.
second.
Okay.
And I know this might be speculating, but it's always interesting to see what our perspectives are on something that we can't know anything about.
Yeah.
What do you think the reason is why they do that? Why they're so tight?
Um, well, I feel like it is cultural. Like I think
Yeah.
naturally for the daughter, I'm the only daughter,
Mm.
two brothers, and I'm a middle. So I think naturally for the daughter, the unmarried daughter, they're like, oh my God, like she, all that stuff, right? And
Yeah.
like I was also the first one to do something like this. Like I don't know.
Mm.
Years ago, my brother quit his job for like a year, but now he works for a very stable company and he's been there, a while.
Yeah.
And same with my older brother, has super stable regular ass job and like whatever, I think so. I think part of it is really cultural. Like I think they're just kind of like, I think also part of it is when they saw, like before I burned out, I was like a go 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 machine, and I think when they saw me like down for the count, I think they were really like, oh my God, what happened to her, and I'm not the same since. Like I'm just not a machine anymore. Like I'm very much more in my feminine, like I
Mm.
live a lot, I nap a lot, like I create more. Everything I do is from like my body, you know what I mean? Like if
Right.
he wants to do it, doesn't want to do it. I'm just really trying to honor and stay in balance with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think a lot of it is like cultural, and then like maybe even their past impressions of me of like you
Right.
used to be a machine, now you're like a slut.
Right.
You're on the couch.
Yeah, that's so interesting how that works. We're like, what we forget as humans is that other people don't go through the same transformation as we do, or even see us go through the same transformation, right? And
Yes.
and this is a mistake I used to make for my travels as well. When I would be gone for 2 months, to, let's say, Thailand, to me that was life changing. I could develop myself in ways where it felt like I was gone for years, and then I could come back, and even my sister's toys would be in the exact same spot on the floor as I left. And it's interesting because sometimes at a certain point they couldn't grasp the rate with which I was changing anymore, and that made me grew very distant from my parents, because I was like, if you guys like, you guys don't know what I'm going through, so just leave me. And they did. Uh,
Mhm.
and I think that is the difference between your parents and mine, that yours are still there and mine were like, all right, then do your thing.
Yeah.
Um, so if you were to reflect on what you just said right there, sort of the reasons as to why you think that um, they might be that way, what would you think the solution is, or how would you think you could get into the spot of this is where I'd like the relationship to be?
Yeah, such a good question. I'll also just like volunteer that like um I have so much to say right now. You're blowing
Mhm.
my mind. Thank you.
Okay.
uh, I think so. I think what I did earlier this year was like a step in the right direction. So that was kind of like boundaries over like trying to tell me to go back to work. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So finally, like we were in Miami, and my mom tried to talk to me about it again. So I was really like, I'm not going to talk about it anymore. Like I'm
Mhm.
done. I've already decided, and I know this is the right choice, for me right now. So I think that was good because I was like, I need you to accept, like I need you to be coming into an acceptance phase, on your own. So I think that was good because after the trip, like we had talked later, and like both my parents were actually like in a better state. They were kind of like, we're here for you. We love you no matter what.
Mhm.
So that was like really helpful. And I think, but I guess from going like where we are now to that, like, yeah, I think maybe a little more like maybe boundary setting or communication on like where I would like things to go would be probably very helpful.
Yeah. So that what you said, the the boundary setting and the communication thing, um, that's not new. I didn't give that to you. That you came up with that. So that means it was already there, right?
Yeah,
So then I'm curious, what has prevented you from doing that so far?
that's such a good question. Do you mind if I like tune in for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I think up until this point, I always kind of felt so hesitant with my parents, about
Mhm.
like speaking my truth.
Yeah.
Um, but I do feel like that is maybe more in the more in the past. Like I feel like I could say something to them now and just be like, and I think they would hear me better too because I feel more confident in myself versus like in these past, whatever 14 months or whatever it was. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think at this point I could just say it and it wouldn't, it would be fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a new realization.
That's a right now realization.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So, can I ask you a question?
Mhm.
Do you do you feel like with your parents, like do you feel like they it's like their lens of you is like um kind of like stuck on like just past iterations of you, you know what I mean?
I used to feel like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't anymore. I guess when I I'm not sure if I had the exact same realization as you just had, but to put it very bluntly, it was my own fault. It was me. Uh,
Mhm.
People can only have the image of you that you portray, and if you're
Right.
not portraying any image to them, then they got to do with what they had from the past.
Yeah, yeah.
So I, to me, it's exactly that boundary setting, that communication.
Mhm.
um, and we often forget that, especially with our parents, right? Those are the people that have been with us for our whole lives. We never had to do that with them because like they
Mhm.
knew, right? They knew what we were going through, even to a point where you love each other so much there's no need for communication. It's just okay. But then
Yeah.
when you're gone for a longer time, that sort of fades, and then we tend to forget that very easily because it's like they're my parents, right? They should just know.
They just know, or like, "They've seen me my whole life. Why don't they know me?" Yeah. No,
Right.
sure. I actually love what you said though about like portraying that image because I'm reading this other book right now.
Hmm.
It's called Personal Power Through Awareness, and
Hmm.
it's they said the exact same thing. I literally just read this like yesterday or something, or like this week, but it was like if you're like having a problem, or if you feel criticized, or if you feel like a certain way from somebody,
Hmm.
um, like send them images of like who you want them to see you as, you know, like send them images of them seeing you as like wise, powerful, whatever it is you want them to see you as, and like see if that helps to shift things, because you're essentially you're sending them love, right? Like
Right.
like in the form of like, yeah. So I like that kind of like, because I think it builds up your confidence to then talk to them and be like, hey, you know.
Right, right.
Yeah.
I guess it's a step. Though what I would love to invite you to do is not just send it from the safety of your room, but
Yeah.
go there and talk to them. Because as you said earlier, they might be ready, right, to hear that
Yeah.
new version of you and accept that.
Yeah.
And maybe not. It maybe by just having that conversation, you just help them one step further.
Yeah.
Um, what I love about what you said, and that's why it also resonates so much. Recently, I figured out that the people that I really love coaching most are the people that have some kind of mission or some kind of need for freedom,
Hmm.
but by going after that, they feel like they're not being understood by the people around them. And because
Yeah.
that's so me. I've always had wanting to do things or made choices that people were like, why are you doing that? Or came up with so much fear.
Uh-huh.
And still I had to move through that. And those are my people, right? It's the stuff where it's like we're such big dreamers that
Dreamers.
people
Yeah.
around us just don't seem to get it, or we got to help them catch up. And
Yeah.
from safety, I used to hide myself because of that. I used to not talk about that stuff, right? I felt like the more I talked about my dreams and passions, the more I was pushing myself away from these people because they couldn't grasp it.
Yeah.
And I guess you know how that the image that I'm seeing is like when you're walking a ladder and people are just having trouble with the first few steps.
Hmm.
Sometimes there's got to be someone who takes the first steps and then helps everyone else up, right?
Yeah.
And I guess maybe in this situation, that's you took on that role for your parents to, you take the
Yeah.
very first few steps and then.
I completely resonate with what you just said. I like think
Mm.
about that a lot. How I'm the same way. I'm like a I really place an emphasis on following my intuition, you know, like
Mhm.
I always want to get like the timing right or whatever. Um or like the aligned steps, you know. And so but when you follow your intuition, it doesn't always make a lot of like logical sense or even cultural
You
sense, right?
know,
Like
yeah.
sometimes you do things and people are like, why do you think that is okay? You know, and you're like, no,
Mm.
it's totally in alignment though. You know, like I know it makes sense to you, but like
Right.
it body makes sense to me, and I can't even explain it to you because like I haven't seen it play out. This is just my intuition from the future being like, you should go this way, you know.
Mm.
But because of that, I really resonate with like feeling like I don't know if people around me understand that. Like I think a lot of people do, but you know, for a while, I think I still do feel like, yeah, I think people look at me and scratch their head, like, what's she doing? Like, why did she think that's okay? You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it can be quite lonely, right? It can be. It's not that you're alone, but it can still feel a bit lonely. And
Yeah.
and the beautiful thing is that that loneliness is not per se like my mistake was that I thought people just wouldn't understand what I was doing when actually I only had that thought because I didn't even understand.
Mm-hmm.
And and if you look at it from that perspective of that reflection where it's like I just I don't feel comfortable with them knowing about what it is that I do because I don't feel comfortable with what it is that I do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And those were those moments where I was like, right, maybe I'm just not being clear to the people around me because I'm not fully confident with what it is that I'm actually doing.
Right.
And to take it from that confidence thing and to work on that inner confidence and owning who it is that you are,
Mm-hmm.
suddenly it becomes super easy to give people that clear image of how they'd like to see you.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. It's true.
Cool. If you look back on these past 30 minutes, what's been your biggest insight?
Um, well, I'll talk about the homework because then I'll remember it, but just
Okay.
make talk to my parents and just kind of
Mm.
like, you know, set the groundwork for like how I would like things to go in a respectful way, of course. Um,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just think I feel really understood by you. So I just really want
Mm.
to thank you. I feel like it's like you were reading my mind over the past few days and like drawing out like some stuff that I've like either been reading or thinking about, you know. Um, but yeah, I think maybe the main thing is just really owning, really coming into my own confidence, because I do think it's kind of like a something you build, right? Like, and as especially as we're always growing and changing, we're always kind of like growing into that next version, you know, and like
Yeah.
just owning where I am now, but also that I really have come so far. Like my confidence is more than what it used to be, and just like as that still grows, like it will already like really project to other people also, but making sure to communicate about stuff like that too. Yeah.
Right. Beautiful. Thanks for going that way with me. Thank you for sharing. Of
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for guiding me.
course. Hi, Rita.
Hi.
What's
Well,
your thoughts? What came to you?
it was an amazing conversation and amazing questions, and I don't know how you put Anjali in a state of talking about her problems with her parents when she was so happy and jolly and wanted to just talk about what was going on in her life in the past day, and it was truly remarkable. I don't know what to say other than that. I cannot offer you the the kind of advice that you usually do. I think you did it pretty much everything on the books. You've listened empathically, you've understood it completely, and you've done a wonderful job at reflecting back to her and summarizing some of the things that she was saying. So
Thanks.
I give you 5 stars.
Thank you very much.
Five
What's
stars.
something about what I did that really stood out to you that you were like, oh, I never knew that, or I never looked at it from that perspective, or I'm going to take that with me into my coaching?
Well, I would love to take everything from my coaching, to be honest. Uh,
Right.
I don't know exactly. I think we are all different in some sense, in a sense, and how we do coaching is necessarily different because of our experiences and our way of being. But um, I don't know how to answer exactly your question. I don't know
Okay.
what you did amazingly well. Uh, that I will take back. I would take everything. I would do the right questions in the right moments as you did. And I don't know what are those questions in each time, because it's definitely depends on whatever is in front of us, and we cannot
Right.
prepare for that. It's something that is natural or it is natural, and
Yeah.
you have to be listening on every level to be able to respond back in the way that you did. So
Yeah.
kudos to you.
Thank you. I mean, you said asking the right question at the right moment, and any question that you're going to ask at any moment is going to be the right question at the right moment. So I wanted to say that before I was going to forget.
Thank
Anjali, what stood out to you? Was there any? Yeah. How did you
So
like this question?
yeah, I want to just also volunteer that I had a question in my head about coaching that you
Mm.
answered in
Ah,
indirectly in this session. So my question was like, if your client's already like in a good mood, what do you do? Like, is there anything to do? You know, like I think like you
good question.
giving me the space to like, I don't know, just brain dump about what I was feeling inspired about, opened up space to be guided to like, oh wait, there is actually something that was weighing on me. You know what I mean? So like really appreciate me being like, or you being like, I'm gonna allow you to talk about whatever you want.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
you seem like you want to share, but then like, okay, now we actually could talk about something else, because that's like rapport building too, you know, like
Right.
really catching up on what I'm learning, you know. But yeah, I also one thing I also noticed you did that I thought was
Mhm.
really cool was I asked you a question, like I forgot what it was, but I asked you something and you were like, before I answer your question, I actually have another question for
Right.
you. Like I thought that was really good, because like it would be so tempting to like latch onto my question and be like, oh, I'll just like talk about my stuff instead. which we probably would have given the same answer, but I think
Right.
just attention to like, I'm serving you, like I want to know more about you, and then I can really give you the best answer. Like that just, to me, it shows a lot of just presence and attention and care. So I just really appreciate
Right. Yeah, thank you. Now that you mention it, I'm not even sure if I actually answered your question, but
that's okay.
but that's okay, right? Because I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not here to answer your. I mean, of course, I'd be happy to answer your questions if I can.
Yeah.
But you're gonna notice that sometimes people come at you with questions, and I was always when people are like, "Can I ask you a question?" I always watch the moment where that that came in, because sometimes people want to take the pressure off themselves. They feel like you're digging too deep. And
Mm,
then they're like, oh, but like, let me just ask you a question. And it's very tempting as a coach to indeed just talk about yourself because you know it all so well and blah, blah, blah.
yeah.
But to then just softly notice, like, okay, did we just light up the fire a bit too high, or which direction should we go into? And I think,
Mhm.
I don't remember the exact moment too, but yeah, I'll look back at it. And if I can then still answer your question, I'd be happy to. But to get back on what you said, Rita, about that you wasn't sure what I did, that was the thing. And what came to me when you were saying that, first of all, was like, I don't know either. I got no clue. Second of all, I feel like when a client comes on a session and they're super happy, like you were, and they don't have a problem, let's say, there's no need to coach. Honestly, when you were saying that, I was like, all right, this might be just a 5-minute conversation with the three of us, and then we log off. Um, because there was no attachment from my side whether we would go into the coaching or not. Like if you're perfect, and if you're feeling, I mean, you are perfect, both of you, but
Thank you.
if you're just feeling good, and there's no need for coaching, then there is no, who am I to say that there is a need for coaching, right?
Right.
So I do think that is important, that unattachment to whatever is going to come up. And yeah, I'm happy that you wanted to share. And from that, I asked that question about simplicity, and where that, so there I was sort of poking a bit, but also knowing, like, if you don't want to go anywhere, then we just don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And I do think that's sometimes, especially when people are paying you for sessions, and I have difficulty with this as well, when they come on the session and there's nothing to talk about. I'm like, you just paid me money to literally be here with me for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then that sort of does creep in with me. But then again, I'm like, well, I guess I'm just doing a good job, right? I guess last week's session is still going. So I think that was interesting. Thanks for both of you being present.
Thank you.
Also, what I want to add was, I remember someone saying, I think that was last Sunday, where someone was like, yeah, no, but a session is too short. You can't do coaching within an hour and then just have a good session. And if there's somebody watching the recording, I'd like to point out that, I mean, I know you a bit, Anjali. We've talked before, but I don't really know you. Like, it's not as if I already had a list of things I could coach you on. I had no clue where we were going to go. So also, that is what I do love about the power of coaching. I don't need to understand your whole life in order to draw out stuff and help you further. And I guess that's also a mistake that coaches make sometimes, where it's like, I want to know everything about this person. I'm just going to ask them like very surface level questions, when that you don't really need to always do that.
Right.
So but I had fun, guys. This was
Can I-
energizing to me. Yeah.
So I remember I've also just been sort of trying to formulate, what will my sessions look like, how long and stuff. And like, I feel like I'm so grateful that because I think it was last week when I joined the first group practice coach, and I loved that it was shorter. Like I feel like everyone's like, it's too short, but I'm like, I think that might be where I would want to go, because I think we got a lot done in 30 minutes, and like, I'm still energized. Like, I think that's really good. So, I mean, I don't think there's a right or wrong time. I think it's just whatever feels good to you.
Yeah.
But I think that really opened up my mind to be like, oh, it's okay if that's what we want. If that's what I want, is to do it a little shorter or something,
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I noticed personally is that no matter what time frame you give the other person, if you're a good leader, you'll be able to make it within the time.
Wow.
Like even if you do it, even if you say, because it's all about intention in the end, right?
Mhm.
And I feel like when you give someone 2 hours, they also unconsciously allow themselves to warm up for like 1.5 hours.
Yeah.
And if you give someone 25 minutes, you already set the tone for, all right, we're just going to dive into it. And
Mhm.
someone will more easily open up.
Yeah.
That's what I've noticed personally.
I love that.
Cool. Rita, did you want to add anything, say anything, do anything? Okay.
My mood is a little bit better now, and I think I've related a lot with some of your issues with my parents and everything. So the session was definitely a good session for me as well.
Cool.
I also need boundaries with my dad more than with my mom.
Mm.
My mom is already a little bit more restrained than she was before. But yeah, it was pretty fun and pretty good to watch. Thank you.
Cool. All right, guys. Have a great week. I hope to see you guys Sunday or else next week.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Cool.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
so much. Bye bye.